Hello there, welcome to Pearls of Righteousness. Today I came with a quick little review, my own little review, because I happened to go on and see the film Us, okay? And in my opinion, I felt that there was a lot of Bible indications, which I felt I wanted to just point out. I'm not going to say a lot, but I'm going to focus on at least five things, which I think relates and correlates very much with the scriptures, okay? Now, I did not want to go and see this movie because I am not a horror fan, and that's what is advertised as a horror. However, my friend who was taking me out, who treated me, really, kind of persuaded me. So, I went, and I made her know. I just, notified her though that if there was any kind of scary, fairy thing that I didn't like, I was getting up and leaving. Nevertheless, that didn't happen, and I'm glad I went. I enjoyed the film. So here is my response. Oh yes, and as you can see, I'm dressed in my red. I try to reenact Lupita as red, my hair. If you remember how her hair was in the red bit. And yeah, so here we go. Because we know as well, towards the end of the film, that the red was actually the real Lupita, was actually the real thing, was who the film was really about. Okay, so here we go. Now, in my opinion, Us, the movie Us, it refers to the Israelites in the scriptures, okay? Or rather the Hebrew Israelites of the scriptures. Now, if you saw the film, or when you see it, you will see that at the start of the movie, it was to do with a black family, okay? Likewise, the same at the ending. They were in the car on the way home. At the beginning, they were in the car on the way on the vacation. Okay. Now, although there was white people, Europeans in the film, but in my opinion, according to the storyline and everything, this was so focused on a particular people, and in my opinion, it was to do with the Hebrews, the Israelites of Scripture, and I'm coming to it from a biblical standpoint of my my end results or perception of the film, okay, at the end of it. Now, if you remember, there was a part when the family, Lupita and her parents, was at the fun park, or the fun fair, as we would say here in Britain. She had an apple, it's like a icing coated or a sugar coated apple. That to me was a representation of what the Jews do, or Israelites do, at the beginning of a new year. In celebration, that was something that they did. They took an apple and they dipped it into sweet honey, yeah, which was and eat it. That was a representation to say that my year, like when we have New Year's resolution, the resolution is that the year was going to be sweet. It was going to be a Baruch year, a new year for them, and all the good things that you want in that new year. That was what the representation of the sweet apple was. But as we saw in the film, that was not what happened for her, is it? Her apple ended upside down in the sand, and isn't that a representation of what actually happened to her? Indeed it was. Now, also the rabbits. When the film started out, you saw this one rabbit, and then as the screen extended, or that took you into it, you saw that there was this big rabbit cage, basically. We know, if we look at rabbits, what is the nature of rabbits? Look into the nature of rabbits. Rabbits are very, very dependable. They're very, kind of subservient animals, right? one of the another nature of the rabbit is that if a rabbit is made to feel any kind of panic or fear, they will respond in aggression. They will respond aggressively. And isn't that a kind of a attribute of our people, especially our men, when they are put into positions like in of authority, like, you know, if you see when they're stopped by the authorities, and, you know, they're antagonized, or, you know, even not even in the car, but, you know, all of what happened to our people with authorities and the police and stuff like that. And then what happened? They respond with aggression because they're put into a situation of a fear, like, you know, it's like a threatening situation, like rabbits, and then they respond aggressively. And what happened? The police kill them. They get shot down because of how they respond and stuff like that. You see the correlation with the rabbits as well. That's another aspect of the rabbits to me. Why we live with rabbits is like we were almost, the tethers were almost rabbits themselves, you know. Another association with the rabbits in scripture. If you look at Leviticus chapter 11, verse 26, Israelites were forbidden to eat rabbits. It was an abominable animal to Israelites, like pigs are. You know, it's also in Deuteronomy 14 and verses 7, it tells you that Israelites are not supposed to eat rabbits. And if you remember in the film, when Red Lapida said, when she was talking to the other Lapida, she said, she was making the comparisons, and when she said, and when this girl had lovely things to eat, whatever food she wants, and whatever, the girl herself, Red, had to eat rabbits, and she was angry, remember? And that's a correlation, because Israelites, our people, they were not allowed, they were forbidden. Rabbits is an unclean animal to Israelites. And what happened? That's what was given to them. And isn't that kind of, you know, what's happening today in society? We're being given these things, the abominable things to eat, and pagan worship and pagan food and all this kind of stuff. We're being put into this subservient situation where we finding ourselves doing these things. We've been doing them for centuries, but a lot of people are waking up to the truth. Now also, did I forget anything about the rabbits? Yes, I said about being abominable. Right. Now I'm going to go to Jeremiah 11 kept on being referred to in the movie, right, in different ways. And if you read the whole chapter of Jeremiah chapter 11, you will see it was referring to a covenant and slavery, or a covenant and curses that was going to be imposed, or the bad things that was going to come, a curse that was going to come on them. Whereby the same thing with Deuteronomy chapter 28, that was talking about a covenant. It was to do with a covenant and the curses that would be imposed if the covenant was broken or weren't kept. So if you look and you read Jeremiah 11 and Deuteronomy 28, you're going to see how they relate. For example, in Deuteronomy 28 and verses 43, it reads, I'll read it quickly. It says, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Now you can look at that with double meanings. That can seem like the strangers that is within thee, that is in your midst, will come up in a higher position than you, and you're going to be down the bottom low. And isn't that where we are? Yes. But also in the film, you can see that the stranger within thee, the tether, the lapida, came up high in a high place, and he was put down below. She was, what did the little girl do? She chained her up, because we find her out further on in the movie. She tied her, like in slavery, they chained us, right? to the bed. She went into bondage down below. She couldn't come out, and there was nobody there to set her free, like it tells us in Deuteronomy 28 and verses 63. It says, and the Lord, the Most High, shall bring thee into Egypt. Again, Jeremiah is also referring to Egypt, okay, again, with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen, slaves, and no man shall buy you, okay? And isn't that what happened? Nobody was there to rescue her. She was put down in the bottom in slavery. It is showing us in this film about us being put down into slavery, and the stranger came up in our place instead. Because if you look at Deuteronomy 28 and verse 13 as well, the place that the Israelites should have been, it says, and the Most High shall make thee the head above and not the tail, right? But it was switched. It says, and thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath. See? If that thou hearken unto the commandments of the Most High, thy Elohim, which I command thee this day to observe and to do them. So you see how Jeremiah 11 and Deuteronomy 28 is relating. If you read the verses interchangeably, you will see it's talking about Egypt and bondage and obeying the covenant, of obeying the Most High commands, and hence being on the top and not on the bottom. But we see that the script was flipped, and what happened, we were put on the bottom and our enemies was on the top. Okay, also as well in the film, the daughter said something about the end of the world, right? If you remember, she said something about the end of the world. And in my opinion, this was an indication of saying that the time is now arrived for Jacob, to become the top, to become at the top, because Scripture tells us that Esau is the end of the world and Yaakov is the beginning, right? And so she make reference to it, and she said, "Did you know?" I can't remember the exact quote she made, what she was talking about, but she said something about the end of the world. Did you know something? She was saying to them in the car, that is the end of the world, right? Yes, it's the end of Esau, and it's time for Jacob to arrive and come up the top. Okay. Also, the last thing I'm going to point out too is when, they had the hands across the nation. That was something that actually happened in the U.S. At some point. Can't remember exactly when, but they were having this hands across America to feed the poor and whatever. But that to me was yes, that was something that happened, but that was also a reflection of the awakening that is taking place right now of the Israelites, of this generation of Israelite, the descendants that are waking up to history and to what took place, and understanding scriptures, and awakening to who we truly are. I see that as the hands across America, the hands across the U.S., okay, that the people of all nations and all of them are awakening. They are rising up and seeing and knowing who they are. They're coming together. They're holding hands, and they are, slave history is being awakened.